can't exactly introduce Lady Gaga at this point, really. I mean, I couldn't just be like, Lady Gaga is a singer-songwriter. Like, you know who she is. What's the point? In 2008, she broke out huge with The Fame, which had some of her biggest singles of the year and her biggest singles of her career. And then a year later, she spilled that tea and gave us The Fame Monster. Now, arguably, The Fame Monster is better than The Fame because not only is it a lot shorter and more succinct, but it doesn't have Love Game, which is like the worst song ever. What the fuck is Love Game? Now, similarly to Emotion Side B, which in my opinion is the better version of the Emotion album, which Carly Rae Jepsen put out, it's very much the ideal pop release for me personally. Not to say that I don't like pop albums or I don't like any pop album that's ever existed, but just that shorter 8-9 track release for me is usually the better representation of what the pop artists can do, because they're just putting their best songs all into one little area and there's no room for filler, there's no room for like maybe even overplayed singles, like for example Poker Face, which just got played to death and got boring after a pretty short while. And that's exactly really what The Fame Monster is for me. I mean, I definitely don't think it's quite a great album. Certainly has a few flaws I think could have been ironed out at the time, but it certainly has some amazing songs that have held up incredibly well 10 years later. For example, Bad Romance. What a great song this is. What a great statement for a pop artist to come out with as well. Like, yeah, she made a name for herself, you know, in 2008. She put out some huge songs, but I just feel like Bad Romance is just this different side to a singer that you probably wouldn't get so soon into a career, because it's a bit weird, it's a bit offbeat, it's a bit, you know, out there with the rah 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 rah. But I absolutely prefer this, honestly. The adventurous and crazy side to Lady Gaga, which put a lot of people off back then. I remember she did some weird things and like, you know, like wearing meat suits and that kind of thing. Definitely made people kind of turn their heads and think she's a bit odd, but I welcome that weird side because I think most pop artists need this, really. Not only that, but great songs too, like Alejandro, great second track on the album. I think, again, this was just huge for the time. A very straightforward pop song, to be honest. There's nothing really going on here that you can over-analyze or over-explain, because it just kind of is what it is. It's similar to like Just Dance, where it's just a fun, catchy pop song, but it's well made, it's well crafted, there's a great performer on the song, so it just kind of heightens just a straightforward pop song, honestly. Like, there's nothing really to over-analyze or over-explain. It just is what it is. It's similar to like Just Dance. It's just a catchy, upbeat pop song with a great performer, which I do think has definitely been the key to a success throughout a career, because people do want a great performer, and if there's anyone you can look to for that, it's Lady Gaga. Similarly to Ariana Grande, it's like these two artists here give everything in all their performances. They sing incredibly well, and I think at the end of the day, that is what most audiences do want. This has made some of the songs hold up really well, but unfortunately I have to be that annoying guy and say some of these tracks just sound a little of their time, which annoys me because I do think this is a good album overall, but tracks like Monster just have these awkward sounding synths that back in 2009, this was like the rave. This was what so many artists were doing. Producers were just kind of like clamming together all kinds of like random shit just to make anything sound like a club banger. You heard it in Kesha songs, you heard it in Pitbull songs, and they're just to name a few artists, but it was just such a sound that sounds so 2009 and 2010 that you can't help but notice this is a little today. You can look past it on a track like Dance in the Dark, so it's just so fun and danceable that it really takes you out of that mindset and you just completely ignore all the flaws, because it is just a really fun pop song. Speechless is definitely left field for the album. I mean, this kind of really over-the-top performance from Lady Gaga here, this almost ballad type track coming in the middle of the album, just doesn't really fit, but it is a good standalone song. The versatility of her as an artist is something, again, that I've welcomed so greatly throughout her career. Like these these pop bangers, these stripped down ballads. You know, you've had huge singles from those. That versatility has always been something I've really appreciated throughout her career though, because you can get like ridiculous, over the top, extravagant performances like you do on something like Judas, but then on the other hand you get a really great stripped down ballad like Million Reasons. It's kind of put her above and beyond most artists in the mainstream, because you don't just get one side of her on every album. She's kind of changing things up constantly and shifting her sound. So yeah, going back to the track Speechless before I go on a massive tangent again, I think it's a very good song. I just think it's definitely awkwardly placed and probably could have been left off and just been like released as a separate like B-side single or something. So Happy I Could Die is a song that I think I do feel like I could die listening to, because it really sounds ugly. Like the I really want to like this song, but it just really reeks. I can't sit through that song. I really can't. I can't really talk about this album without talking about the mammoth of a single, Telephone with Beyonce, which, man, this is the best pop song ever. That's it, confirmed here. I've said it now. This is official. The best pop song of all time. Seriously, a song about just wanting to ignore anyone that calls you and just keep away from your phone all day and just party somehow ends up being this good. Like, who'd have thought that that kind of lyrical premise could turn into this? It still sounds so friggin' good as well. Like, I've been saying throughout this video that some of these songs sound very 2009, but this song right here with Beyonce sounds like it was released last week. Like, it doesn't sound to me like it's aged a day. I really think it's held up that well. So yeah, overall, I think this is a good album. I think it's kind of clear though that it is a bit singles loaded a little bit. Like, the singles are clearly the best songs and you could probably ignore the others and not really feel like you're missing out on anything, but I still feel like as an 8-track release it's good overall. I do think it is a bit of a shame that there are like 1 or 2 duds on here though. I mean, the closing track Teeth doesn't really do a great deal for me, even if it is showing that weird side to her that I do like. I do think the lyrics on this track are a bit cringy, but I do think as well, like, an 8-track release shouldn't have many duds, but it just kind of has a couple, which does drag it down for me. Still though, I think there are 3 songs on here that I consider some of the best of her entire career, and you can't really knock it for that, because these songs are that good that it does drag the album up for me to like a 6.5 out of 10. I really wish I could go higher here, but I also wish that So Happy I Could Die and Teeth weren't on this, and then I would be able to go very high. But yeah, I may as well leave it off there. I mean, it's a good album. It's a huge moment in pop history that I think is worth, you know, keeping as like a landmark, because it was so big for its time and has carried on remaining successful all these years later. So let me know your thoughts if you've ever listened to it. I'm sure you probably have. If you like it more than me. If you don't like it at all, let me know as well. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good day and goodbye.